All right, everybody, buckle up because we're going deep on this one. This one's got it all, folks. Conspiracy theories, ancient history, you name it.
Sounds right up our alley.
It really is. We're talking about Nicaea 2025.
Yes. 1700 years after the original Council of Nicaea, this rumored gathering has certainly stirred up some interesting conversations. And you, our listener, sent in some research on this that's got us both, well, intrigued.
To say the least. I mean, where do we even start with this document? It's not exactly subtle, is it?
No, not at all. I think Alarm Bells pretty much sums up the author's tone here, especially when it comes to the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah, they don't seem too keen on the Catholic Church, do they? It's like they think this whole thing is some kind of, I don't know, power grab, maybe?
That's putting it mildly. This isn't just a council, it's a pseudo-council, they say. Like it's some kind of clandestine operation disguised as a meeting about Christian unity.
Yeah.
And the way they use Nicaea 2025 in quotes throughout. Very interesting.
It's like they're saying, don't be fooled by the name.
Precisely. And then there's this whole idea of ecumenism of the left. Basically, the author is suggesting they're using shared progressive values to gloss over some major theological differences.
Like it's all just a big smokescreen.
Exactly. A distraction from the real agenda, which, according to this author, is the Catholic Church slowly but surely absorbing other Christian denominations into its fold.
And they even bring up how the early church sometimes adopted pagan practices to consolidate power. They're really drawing some parallels here.
Exactly. And you know what they use as their prime example? Uniate churches.
Uniate churches. Okay, for those of us who aren't walking dictionaries of Christian denominations, remind me what those are again.
Sure. Imagine a church that looks and feels orthodox. They've got all those rituals, the aesthetics, the whole 9 yards. But here's the kicker. They answer to the Pope.
So they're basically orthodox in name only.
That's one way to put it. And for this author, that's the danger of Nicaea 2025. It's not about genuine unity. It's about one branch of Christianity pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. And the author says it all comes down to Trinitarian theology.
Okay, break that down for me. What's the big deal about the Trinity in all of this? It's Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? Seems pretty straightforward.
Well, the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is kind of Christianity 101, right? It's the core belief about the nature of God. But here's the thing. Different branches of Christianity interpret the Trinity in subtly different ways.
Subtle to theologians, maybe? But to the average person in the pews, does it really make a difference?
To this author, absolutely. They argued that these subtle differences actually reflect deep, irreconcilable divisions about the very essence of God. For them, downplaying these differences in the name of unity is like building a house on sand. It looks good on the surface, but it's built on a fundamental misunderstanding.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this author is so riled up, but it's still a bit abstract for me. What's their biggest fear here? Paint me a picture of this worst-case scenario.
Imagine this. Christianity becomes homogenized. Instead of diverse branches with unique traditions and interpretations, it all gets streamlined, standardized, with one dominant voice calling the shots. The author is concerned that this Nicaea 2025 is a step towards that kind of enforced unity.
So it's not just about theological nuances. It's about preserving the richness and diversity of different Christian traditions, almost like protecting endangered species of faith.
Exactly, because for this author, when you lose that diversity of thought and expression, you risk losing something fundamental to the Christian faith itself.
You know, it's funny, when you first said Nicaea 2025, I had to admit I pictured a bunch of old guys in robes having a theological debate in some ancient building. But this is so much bigger than that, isn't it? We're talking about power dynamics, historical anxieties, and the very nature of religious authority. This author is basically saying that someone's faith has to perish for this union to work. Those are strong words.
Strong, but important, because they force us to ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice in the name of unity? Is it about finding common ground while respecting differences, or is it about one group asserting its dominance?
And that's a question with implications far beyond the world of religion, don't you think? It makes you wonder how often we sacrifice authenticity for the sake of a supposed unified front in other areas of life, whether it's politics, social issues, or even just within our own families.
Absolutely. This idea of unity at what cost is something that resonates across all aspects of human experience. And this document, whether you agree with its conclusions or not, forces us to confront that question head-on.
So where do we go from here? What are some key takeaways for our listener who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this right now?
I think the first takeaway is don't panic. This Nicaea 2025 event is still shrouded in speculation. But what we can do is use this as an opportunity to engage more deeply with our own beliefs and the history behind them.
Right. Like, don't just take someone's word for it, not even ours. Go out there, do your own research, and see what you find. It's like, what's that saying? A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. We start digging into this Nicaea 2025 thing, and, well, let's just say more questions keep popping up. Kind of exciting, though, right?
It really is. You know what it reminds me of? Those archaeology digs, where they uncover like a little piece of pottery and then boom, next thing you know, they found a whole lost city.
Huh. I see what you mean.
We started with this one document, and look at us now. We're neck deep in these huge questions about religious authority, power struggles throughout history, even like the nature of truth.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? And maybe that's the real takeaway here. It's not about like predicting the future or figuring out if this Nicaea 2025 thing is real or not, but it's more about using these conversations to, I don't know, to explore our own faith more deeply.
I couldn't agree more. I think whether you're, a devout Christian or a history buff or even just someone who loves a good mystery, there's something in this for everyone. It really challenges us to think critically, to question things, to have these really interesting and important conversations.
Well said. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it back to you, our listener. If you're feeling, I don't know, a little fired up, a little curious, maybe even a bit overwhelmed, that's a good thing. It means you're engaged.
Exactly. This isn't the end, it's really just the beginning. Take what we've talked about today and, see where it leads you. Go read up on the original Council of Nicaea, check out Eastern Orthodox Christianity, see how these old debates still play out in today's world.
Yeah, who knows? You might even find a piece of the puzzle that we missed. That's the beauty of a good deep dive like this. It's never really over. It's an invitation to keep digging, keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
And on that note, thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring.